All right, to round out my review of Real Gear Robots here, today we are taking a look at Transformers Real Gear Robots Longview. And yeah, I only have four Real Gear Robots, so this is the last of my Real Gear Robots reviews. But yeah, here we have Longview, and he turns into a little pair of binoculars. They're kind of like a sort of futuristic looking pair of binoculars. Like they're not typically what I'd think of as like the prototypical binoculars shape. I should also mention I've had this toy since I was a kid, and this was one that I did some experiments on in terms of like panel lining and stuff like that when I was a lot younger. So it has a few details on here that don't look super fantastic, that are things that I added when I was a kid, like these red stripes on the edge here. Like I don't know, I like the splash of color there. I just didn't do a very good job, but that's okay. It's seen some play. And then these sections picked out in red also I added, and then in there, which I think that actually looks pretty cool, but the all the red detail was stuff that I added. But yeah, he's kind of a weird one in that, like, he still does the sort of like techie thing where he's got some reference to the to Transformers Cybertron there, but it's a pair of binoculars, so it's weird for it to have like buttons and screens and stuff like that. In terms of the functionality of it, you can look through the lenses and see all the way through. They don't do a ton of magnification, but probably a little bit. But not quite as exciting, I think, as some of the other ones that we've looked at, who all had little things that you could actually do with them, but I don't really know what you'd be expecting to do with a pair of binoculars anyway. But yeah, he's got a nice Autobot symbol on the top there. And, part of the reason that I did the panel lining as a kid is that, like, because he doesn't look so much like a pair of binoculars, I used to like to pretend that he was just like a little Cybertronian vehicle that could hover around and not like a role-play object. So he could kind of like interact with all of my other Transformers figures and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's a weird binoculars mode because it's like kind of weird and futuristic. Like, I'm sure there's some kind of binoculars that actually looks like this, but he kind of looks like Wall-E, doesn't he? But it's not like typically what you'd think of when you look at pair of binoculars. And then it doesn't help, obviously, that, because a lot of the Real Gear robots didn't really scale with the actual objects that they're supposed to be. He's much too small to be a reasonable pair of binoculars. Like, no one's eyes, even like a toddler, are that close together. So maybe it'd work for like a cat, but I don't know why they would need binoculars. But yeah, in terms of size comparisons, here he is with the ones that we've looked at so far, the other ones that I have with zoom out and spy shot and speed dial there. Kind of different object than the three of them, but still looks pretty cool with them. And then for a BotBots comparison, here he is with Googly Eye PI, is that what his name is? It's like a private investigator who turns into a much more traditional shaped pair of binoculars. Like this shape is much more what I'd think of when I think of binoculars, but two different styles there. But yeah, in terms of transformation, he's got some neat stuff going on here. You take the front lenses here and they hinge out like that, and then you just untab these kind of grip sections from the side here. And then take these sections, which will be his legs, and unfold them like this, rotate them forward, and then take these little panels here and rotate them down like that. They're on a double hinge, but that'll make his feet there. And then for the arms here, he's got two little sculpted hands that kind of rotate out from the inside, just like that, again, with some panel lining there. That I wish I didn't do. I don't think that looks particularly good. It looks like he just grabbed a strawberry or something and squeezed it in his fingers, but it's fine. And then you can kind of like unlock the elbows here. They kind of swoop into place. And then in the back here, you want to take this little panel and rotate it out like that, and then take this whole section, kind of rotate it up like that, and then the whole head flips around like that, and then you close this panel back up and close this panel back up, which is kind of a neat movement there, just from flipping from one mode to the other. You can kind of do it without that panel, just like rotate it up and let it open itself and then close it. But yeah, there you have Longview in his robot mode, and I think he looks pretty cool. He makes for a nice little kind of bodybuilder style body type here, and yeah, I think it works pretty well. Again, a lot of pretty much all of the red detailing other than the Autobot symbol is stuff that I added. I also painted his cheeks black for whatever reason. I don't know. but otherwise that was just the normal kind of same bluish skin color there. But yeah, he's got a nice head sculpt, a little visor there, appropriate to a binoculars bot. I like seeing the inner techie detail here on the shoulders. Even without the red, I think it looked pretty cool before. In terms of articulation, the head is on a ball joint here. It's a little stiff, but you get a little bit of wiggle and then obviously some rotation back and forth. The shoulders here are on ball joints. They can rotate around like that, rotate out to the side. He doesn't have a bicep swivel or anything like that. He does have a hinged elbow that bends up like that, and then the wrists can only kind of bend inward. No waist cut or anything. Hips can go forward, back, out to the side. He's got a thigh swivel, a very deep knee bend just due to transformation, and then the toes have a pretty decent amount of articulation here. They don't lock in or anything, so they can kind of rotate up and down as you wish. They don't like really hold much of a pose to either because the joint isn't really tight enough to support his weight, but it's nice to have that variation there. But yeah, he's a pretty good little robot. He does have some issues, like over time this chest panel has kind of loosened up, so it kind of flops down a lot, but I can usually get it to stay in place. It's not too big of a deal. In terms of size comparisons, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe, just for that standard size modern day deluxe. Here he is again with his friends here with Spy Shot and Zoom Out and Speed Dial. Get them all on camera here, all on camera. Yeah, I think they all look good together. Obviously, he sticks out a little bit just because the other three have very gray color schemes and he's bright yellow, but I don't know, still a good vibe with all of them. And then here he is again with Googly Eye, PI, the little binoculars bot there. Very different aesthetics, but still kind of cool to see two different binoculars Transformers of all things. But yeah, I like this toy line a lot. I like Real Gear robots. These are the only 4 that I ever got when I was a kid, and they go for some of them go for kind of expensive prices nowadays on the aftermarket, especially the ones that were like later wave and didn't get a ton of distribution. Oh, that's funny. I didn't even notice that. He's got a hole through his leg here, which is like part of the channel between the lens, the 2 lenses there. That's kind of funny. But yeah, so I don't know. There's a few others that I'd like to get. Like there's one that turns into a wristwatch, which I think looks really cool, and there's one that I really want that turns into a little it turns into a little video game controller, but the robot mode is like a little gorilla. I think that's a neat idea, and I can definitely see some influences from that guy in a lot of bots nowadays. But yeah, I'm happy with the ones that I've got, and I think that this one in particular he's kind of a mixed bag. I think he looks a little bit more abstract compared to some of the other, more like hyper detailed other ones that really strive to be a lot closer to, the typical versions of their objects, whereas he's kind of like a weird pair of binoculars, which I don't hate as his aesthetic. It's just, it takes a little bit longer to recognize what he actually is. And the chest thing is kind of annoying, but that's just, loosened up because he's kind of an old toy that wasn't an issue when I got him. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say about him. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Without further ado, here we have Transformers 2007 Real Gear Robots Longview. Weird that he doesn't have a number in his name like the rest of them do. I don't know, but yeah, there's Longview.